Hey everyone, welcome back. In our previous video, we discussed the page object model approach and how it can be implemented for more maintainable and reusable code for browser test automation, right? If you haven't watched that video yet, I highly recommend checking it out before watching this one. And because in this video, we are going to take one step further where I'm going to talk about the data-driven approach with the page object model. So this data-driven approach is basically a technique that allows us to run the test with a different set of input data, right? And also we can put the test data in one source file, and from that source file we can read and then inject the data into the test function, and from test function it will go to the page class, right? So this will help us to avoid the hard coding of the data in test file and the page class file, right? So this is the main purpose of this data driven approach. So in this video, let's see how we can implement this data driven approach with the page object model, right? So let me quickly give you the overview on this test case. So this test case is about the should be able to log in, right? So in this test case, what we are trying to do is first we are creating a single instance of this app class. So this app class is something that we saw in the previous video where we are creating a one single app class, which is basically helping us to manage all the page objects, right? So with the help of this app class, basically I'm accessing the page objects, and with the help of page objects, basically we are accessing the page methods and their properties, right? So you can see from first I'm creating the instance of this app class. So we are testing the source demo app. So for that I have given this name source demo app, and with the help of this app class I'm accessing the page login page objects. So now with the help of this login page objects I'm calling this function which is defined in the login page class, as you can see here, right? So first I'm loading this login page, and after that I'm trying to log in with this username and the password, right? So currently you can see this is the hard coded data that we have uh, given in this test function, right? Now we are going to implement this data driven approach. So in data driven approach we can keep this kind of test data in one source file, so that source file can be a JSON file, CSV file, or Excel file, whatever file that you are comfortable, you are okay to implement in the test automation project. But I will go with the widely famous format, that is a JSON format. So I'm going to keep these kind of data in that JSON file, and from that JSON file I'm going to read it and then inject the data in this test function. So let me show you. So this source demo basically supports all these username, standard user, that then there is a logout user, then the problem user, then the performance class user, right? And the login functionality, the flow will remain same. It just I need to test the this logging test with this data, right? So first we'll understand like how we can remove this hard-coded data and how we can inject that data from a test file, that JSON file, to this test function. And after that we can see like how we can run the same test case with all this data that is present inside this JSON file, right? So let's get started. So what I need to do is first I need to read this JSON file. So what I will do, I'll type the import statement. So I'll say import read everything as user data from the file name is okay. So that file is inside this data, and inside this data I have the file called user sorry, login data.json file. Okay, so now I'm reading all the information. I'm reading this file as a user data. Okay, this file will be stored as a user data, right? So let me show you, means what I'm trying to explain it here. Console.log, and here let me say this is the user data, and I will print this user data here. Okay, now I will run this test, npm run test e2e. So now you can see the data is getting printed here, and the test got executed successfully because we are not doing any validation here. It's just entering this hard coded username and password as of now, and after that is it is not validating whether the user has logged in or not. So that's why you can see the test is got passed. But here the main point is, like here, if we see, this data is getting printed here, the user data, right? So now what is next? Okay, so next is, now instead of hard coding this data, what I want to do is I need to log in with the user as a standard user. Okay, so how I can pass this information here? So first I need to check. Okay, so this is the array that is getting stored as a user data, right? So in this array, the first index is standard user, and the in this user, so this is the object. Basically, at this index, we have to access this object, right? So how we can access it? User data, and this is the at index 0. Then I will say username. Okay, and the same I will go for this user data, and then this is okay 0, and then say password. Okay, let me print this information here. Console.log, here say user thread, and here I will give the information. Okay, now let's see what will be printed here, right? So if I'll remove this and I'll run this again, you can see now it is printing the user credential, standard user, and the secret sauce, right? So this is how you can read the JSON file and inject the data into this test function. Okay, so just to summarize what we have done so far. So first we have imported this this data JSON file, and then we are assigning all this means whatever uh, this file has. So we are assigning that to this user data, right? And then with the help of this user data variable, we are accessing the username and the password, which is this which is standard user and the secret sauce for index 0, right? But there are two major problem I can say with this approach. One is like if you have a complex JSON structure, so in that case, this traversing will make more difficult to manage your test case. Let's say if in complex JSON file, if something is getting changed, if the structure is getting changed, then in that case you will find some difficulties to update the test script, right? So this is the one problem that I can see. And the second problem that with this approach is, like if you have the multiple test, okay, multiple tests with a different test data JSON file, then in that case you may end up with writing too many import statement in the single test file, right? so which will make your code harder to read and maintain. So these two challenge I can see with this data driven approach. So what we are going uh, to do next is we are going to use the same approach that Playwright is providing. Like here you can see in this test function, Playwright is providing a page fixture to parameterize in this test function. So instead of using this import statement as a like this, we are going to pass this user data as a parameter to this function, just like a page fixture, right? So as like this user data, right? And this user data, then we further will use here like this, right? So this will be our next step. And after that, what we are going to do is like instead of using this hard coded way, let's say I'll say standard user, okay, and then I'll pass this standard user dot name. So yeah, so this is what the next step is, right? So first I will inject the user data in the test function as a parameter, right? Then after that I will optimize it. I will write a logic behind behind this test file. That logic will basically return this standard user instead of entire user data, right? So so that I can use that standard username and password like this. So this will make your test look more readable and easy to understand, like what exactly that we are doing it here and what kind of login we are performing here. Like for standard user, I'm trying to log in with this user, right? So and then at the end we are going to see like how we can execute the same test with all this data. Yeah, so we are going to see all these topics in the next upcoming videos. So thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.